You think you know Stephen King? Well, here's some things you may not have known about the master of horror. Stephen King is a hugely prolific writer and is one of the most adapted authors in the history of cinema. As of the making of this video, he's credited as the writer on over 200 films on IMDb, most of which come from credit given to him through adaptations of his work. One of the more famous adaptations of King's work is Stanley Kubrick's version of The Shining, which is often considered one of the best horror films ever made. However, despite its critical and commercial acclaim, King hates Kubrick's version of his story. He believes that Stanley Kubrick completely missed the point of his novel and stripped out the character arc of Jack Torrance. King does recognize a lot of the artistic value of the film, but describes it as a, quote, big beautiful Cadillac with no engine. For years, King wrote under the pseudonym Richard Bachman, so he could publish more than one book a year without oversaturating the Stephen King brand. One of the books he wrote under this name was The Running Man, which was eventually adapted into a film starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. Though King is primarily known for his horror fiction, he's written a variety of work, much of which have been adapted into film or television series. Coming-of-age story Stand By Me was based on his novel The Body, and Academy Award for Best Picture nominees The Green Mile and Shawshank Redemption are also King adaptations. The latter is often considered one of the best movies ever made, and though it was initially a financial flop, it became the most rented movie of 1995 because of positive word of mouth. The character Red in Shawshank Redemption, played by Morgan Freeman in the adaptation, was originally Irish in the novel, and he is presumably called Red because of his red hair. Freeman's character jokingly references this in the film. When asked why he's called Red, he replies,
"Maybe it's because I'm Irish."
Freeman holds that Shawshank Redemption is his favorite movie that he's ever worked on, and also counts the novella it was adapted from, Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption, as his favorite book of all time. One of Stephen King's longest-running colleagues in the film industry is director Frank Darabont. The first film that Darabont ever wrote and directed himself was a short film based on King's work, The Woman in the Room. Darabont personally wrote King requesting the rights to the piece, which King granted because he thought students and unknown directors making films based on short stories was a great idea. Though Darabont was unhappy with how the film turned out, it did lead to a friendship with King, and an informal deal that gave Darabont the rights to direct what would become The Shawshank Redemption. Darabont would go on to direct adaptations of King's stories The Green Mile and The Mist. As of the making of this video, he intends to direct adaptations of The Long Walk and The Monkey. King's collaboration with Darabont and other similar filmmakers was so successful that he started an initiative known as Dollar Babies, where student and independent filmmakers could license some of King's short stories for just $1. The Dark Tower books are perhaps Stephen King's magnum opus, and film adaptations of the series have been attempted for years. Frank Darabont teased the film by including a painting of the series' protagonist, Roland, in his adaptation of The Mist. Darabont approached King about adapting The Dark Tower, but King turned him down because he'd already adapted so many of King's stories. Other directors who tried to bring the series to the silver screen before Nikolai Arcel finally directed the 2017 film included J.J. Abrams and Ron Howard. Matthew McConaughey portrays the Man in Black in Arcel's adaptation of The Dark Tower. McConaughey was slated to play the character of Randall Flagg in the adaptation of King's novel The Stand before that project was shelved in 2016. In King's semi-connected universe in his novels, the Man in Black and Randall Flagg are the same person. And here's a bonus one. Though King is primarily a writer, he did direct Maximum Overdrive, an adaptation of his short story Trucks. In the trailer for the film, King joked that no one else was getting his material right, so he had to direct the film himself. Ironically, the film received overwhelmingly negative reviews, and King has not directed a movie since. King considers the film, quote, a learning experience. That's it for this episode of You Think You Know Movies. Make sure to subscribe, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and get the latest movie and TV news on ScreenCrush.com.